Hey everyone, welcome back. And today we're going to be talking about quick, easy mindset hacks that you can incorporate this summer 2024 so that you can be that girl or that guy. In this video, I'm going to cover the narrative of self-discipline, self-talk, healing. I'm also going to be talking about productive rest, tips for you to expand, and of course, living a balanced life. Now, not only is this video going to help you with your productivity, your inner growth, and just general expansion, but it's also going to help you have a complete mental reset so that you can make this summer your year. So let's get into it. First and foremost, we're going to be talking about self-discipline. Now, self-discipline and productivity actually have a relationship with one another. And in fact, productivity is just the result of having good self-discipline. But the issue a lot of us has is actually having the willpower to then carry out this self-discipline. These three elements work together. So it's through your willpower that you then carry out that self-discipline, and that self-discipline is what creates that productivity. But sometimes we have fluctuating willpower, or at least that's the perception that we have created. And the reason it fluctuates is usually because of overwhelm, when we feel like there's too much to do or there's too much that we can't necessarily achieve in that very moment. That often makes our willpower go down, which then makes our self-discipline fluctuate, which then makes our productivity not the best. So these things all have this ripple and domino effect. And for us to be able to really understand self-discipline, we have to go to the root of why it is your willpower is fluctuating. Now, I know this might sound really simple and easy, but you first of all need to ask yourself, when it comes to your willpower, whatever it is that you're choosing to do you actually even want to do it? Is it something that is in alignment with you? Is it something you want? Or is it something that someone else has told you to do, or that you're being forced to do? Because a lot of the time your willpower will fluctuate because it's not actually something that you want, and it's not in alignment with who you are. And that is actually trying to redirect you to something better for you. However, I am well aware that even when things are in alignment, sometimes our willpower can shift and move. And that's when we have to ask a different series of questions. First and foremost, you have to ask yourself if you're in an environment that is allowing you to flourish. Are you around people that are supporting that growth? Do you have people that you can speak to about that growth, whether it's family, friends, or someone external? Have you got any support to achieve your goals? Because sometimes we just need that accountability. And if that's not available to you, and that's really hard, then we have to ask ourselves a series of questions that allows us to be self-accountable. And that means gamifying the process. What gamifying the process actually does is it allows us to have these huge goals, but you have these small little breadcrumbs along the way that you're celebrating, and it's allowing your brain to say, oh, I can do this, this is achievable, and then you're getting one step closer and closer every single time. People that have problems with their willpower fluctuating is because you're not celebrating yourself enough, you're not gamifying the process, and what's happening is that you're having such a huge goal, which is beautiful and amazing, but it becomes very overwhelming and quite daunting for your mind, which then tries to find a million different reasons as to why you can't achieve that, and that's causing your willpower to fluctuate, which is then impacting your self-discipline. The best thing that you can do for yourself in this scenario is, if you have a huge goal, break it down into a lot of little goals that you can achieve over time, that is then going to help you get that much further, and it's going to help you achieve the goal that you actually want to achieve. This will keep you consistent, it will keep you productive, it will help your self-discipline, it will help all of the above, because this is what's actually causing you to fluctuate so much in your own willpower. It's often the overwhelm and just the scarcity of, I don't know if I can do this, instead of giving yourself that trust a little bit at a time, proving to yourself that you very well can do this. Now that we've understood how willpower affects your self-discipline, we actually need to talk about the narrative of self-discipline itself. Because oftentimes you need to check yourself on, what's my relationship with growth right now? What's my relationship with self-discipline right now? And there will be times in your life where you'll have a completely amazing relationship with it, and then there'll be times where it changes, because we're human and things change. And that's okay. So all we have to do is check in with ourselves and say, okay, in this stage of my life, what is my relationship with self-discipline, and what is my relationship with growth? Now, when it comes to your relationship with growth and self-discipline, we have to understand some of the narratives out there. For example, when we were younger, there was this saying that everything comes with growing pains, and this idea that growth somehow is a painful process. when in fact it can be a really beautiful process. But because of the negative bias that we have in our minds a lot of the time, it's trying to root out all of these things that are potential threats to us to help us avoid those things in the future. Now, when we're saying growth is painful, you're indicating to your mind that growth or change is dangerous. And because of that, it's going to have a general negative bias towards it. And as a result, things like self-discipline are then told or taught as, oh my God, it's so hard to be self-disciplined. Why? How? Or is this just an idea that we've fed into ourselves so much that we don't actually show up for ourselves consistently? And yes, I'm calling you out here. I'm calling me out too. I've not always had the best relationship when it comes to self-discipline, but it's an ongoing process that I continuously work on because I realize that self-love and self-discipline go hand in hand. Now, because you've told this story or had this story told to you so many times, in actual fact, to reframe or create a new narrative when it comes to self-discipline or inner growth, it just means showing up for yourself. It means taking those little action steps, building that trust with yourself. That is the only way you're going to reframe this idea, and by doing that, you're going to give those little messages to your brain that, oh, this is actually really good. This is something I can do. This change is really positive. And the more and more you build up to that, the easier it is for you to then change that narrative and adjust it into your life, where once you've done it quite a few times, it then becomes second nature and very easy for you to do. Now, for example, when I started out meditating, at the beginning, it was a struggle to get up in the morning and to not look at my phone. It took time, but the more and more I did it, the easier and easier it became. So for a lot of people that struggle with self-discipline, the biggest tip I can give you is don't listen to what's up here. Do what you've written down. Do what it is you want to do. In that moment, you'll always have a first idea that comes. Go with that first idea. Don't let the chatter continue, because the chatter is what talks you out of doing what you want to do. Whereas the first thing will always be what it is that you wanted to do. For example, if you have the idea that I want to go to the gym, that's your first initial idea. Then the chatter starts. Oh, but then I have to do this. Oh, but then I have to go and get this. Oh, but I have to drive there. Oh, do I have my keys? It then creates a story as to why you can't do that because it's not in your norm and it's not in your comfort zone. When you're breaking your comfort zone, you need to go with the first initial action and not listen to the chatter. You have to put the chatter aside and disassociate with it just momentarily, even to just get yourself there. And once you've done that, the rest of the process just becomes easier for you. So if you want a summer of a lot of self-discipline, then you need to get out of your head and into the moment and into your practice. After that, we then need to address our self-talk. So how is it you actually talk about the thing you want to be productive in? Whether it's work, the gym, any goals that you have, how do you talk about it? If you're talking about, for example, your work and you're saying, oh my God, it's so hard, it's boring, it's this, it's that, well, automatically your brain is then going to think, well, if that's what it is, then that's not something I want to do. So then it's going to procrastinate and it's going to find a million other things to do. Again, I just want to remind you that your mind seeks out comfort. So if you're going to tell yourself so much that it's hard or I can't be bothered, your mind is going to seek out that comfort and then stop that from happening because you're literally telling it to do that. So it's not working against you, it's you learning how to work with your mind or with yourself to create these possibilities, to create this behavior which you're actually craving, but the comfort has got you stuck in this zone where, oh, I'm just going to keep it here, I'm not going to change, I'm not going to do anything differently. Well, if nothing changes, nothing changes. So we have to push past that slight uncomfort to then create this new behavior, this new change that you want to actually see in your life. But oftentimes people don't even make those changes because they're suffering from overwhelm. And that overwhelm is what's causing that lack of productivity or that lack of willpower, like we mentioned in the previous section. And because of this, we have to address that relationship with overwhelm. What is happening there? When you're going through overwhelm, what are the series of thoughts that are happening for you? And to sit with yourself and ask yourself and see with detachment, what's the story that's being told here? Now, for a lot of people, the overwhelm is just looking at it from a zoomed out perspective, but not from a place to see where you're going or to see your growth, but actually from the fixation of, oh my God, there's so much to do and I can see it all, and it's just, you just shut down. You go completely blank. Now, in order to be productive or to have the maximum productivity, you need to learn how to zoom out and zoom in at the right moments. So what I mean by that is, we only need to zoom out to see the bigger picture, to see that we're in alignment, or to see that we can achieve this bigger goal or have these bigger dreams. But when it comes to zooming in, we zoom into our now. When we zoom into our now, what's basically happening is you're taking it that one step at a time. Not only have we mentioned gamifying the process to allow your willpower to continue, but in order for you to actually stay consistent and have that self-discipline, you really have to be able to go into the moment and go with what is happening there and then, as opposed to just staying frozen looking at the bigger picture. Nothing gets achieved overnight like this by just staring and wanting and wishing. It only becomes possible when we then are able to zoom in and take those little steps, which is then going to allow you to have your bigger goal. So instead of allowing the overwhelm to get to you, causing that procrastination, that lack of self-discipline, and no productivity, this year, this summer, you're gonna be hella productive, because you're gonna not only see the bigger picture, but you're gonna zoom into those little actions that you can take daily, which is then gonna help you achieve what you need to achieve, alongside gamifying the process. Moving on to productive rest. Now, I know a lot of people that don't practice this at all, and they will only actually be restful when they've finally burnt themselves out. And we're not gonna let that be you. You are going to do and practice productive rest. Because, honey, if you don't rest, we are very similar to the objects that we own, in the sense that your phone, your laptop, your camera, the battery will die, the energy runs out, and then it needs to be recharged for the energy to be replenished. You are very much the same in that sense. You are energy. So yes, there's going to be times where you're running on low and you need to plug yourself in to the source of the universe and recharge yourself and completely allow yourself that complete reset so that you can come up and show up in the world again as your fullest self. If you find yourself having things like irritation or procrastination, sometimes it will be just because you're overwhelmed, you're burnt out. There's so much on your plate that you just need a break. And you're human, and that's normal. I want to make sure you know that. Rest is productive. Your worth doesn't just lie in your doing, it lies in your being. And the thing that makes you different as a person, as an individual in this world, is your energy. Nobody has your energy blueprint. No one can ever be you. There will only ever be one you. And if that's the case, then you should know that the value you have, yes, the doing is great, and that expression of you is wonderful, but your being is just as important, if not more important, and deserves your time and attention. So productive rest is so key and important. The reason a lot of people don't practice it is because we have this BS idea that with rest, we then have this guilt that comes with it, that we're not doing enough. But the truth is, even if you could do absolutely everything in the world, it would never be enough for you, because there will always be something more to achieve, always something more to do. And that's actually quite normal as human beings because we're expansive. Yes, we want to achieve more and do more, but the pleasure doesn't come from us just doing a million things. It comes from when we're fully attentive and doing those things with purpose and care and love. If you are someone that struggles with that rest guilt, as I like to call it, then you need to ask yourself and work with that shadow version of yourself to see where that trauma began from and what it actually says. Because oftentimes our shadows, or the parts of ourselves that we feel are the shadows, are just trying to help us or redirect us or protect us from something. But until we give ourselves or have the courage to sit with those things and try and understand them, that is the only way we can change. That is the only way that we can provide that space for ourselves. We have to sit with ourselves. We have to sit with those shadows and try and understand it. So if your guilt is coming from a space of you not being enough, or my worth comes from this, then we know why that's showing up, and we can address and move with it or give it what it needs accordingly. If you don't know what you're dealing with, it's very hard to give it what it needs. So provide that space for that shadow of yourself and allow yourself to journal about it to find out why it is you don't think you need or deserve to have that rest. If you particularly struggle with this when it comes to your work, then go and check out my work mindset video, because that will help you really understand productive rest and how you can incorporate it into your life currently. I want to leave you in this section with this quote of limitless potential lies in nothingness. And I want you to really deep that. Limitless potential lies in nothingness. Is some of your greatest ideas come from when you're restful, right before you go to sleep, the minute that you wake up. Some of your best ideas will come in the moments where you have rest. That is where we find our limitless potential. That is where we find our inspiration. So we have to then know that we have to take a step back, have that rest, so that we can then be that much more productive and have direction in our lives. Now, this section is your reminder when it comes to your healing journey. And that reminder is, funnily enough, it's not everyday healing. As much as I'm a huge advocate for self-reflection and introspection, it has to be done purposefully in a safe space, in a conducted space, and not constantly. If you're constantly trying to heal absolutely everything all of the time, all that's actually going to turn into is limiting beliefs, judgment, and overthinking. And if you know what I'm talking about, then you very well know that sometimes when you go into the healing journey, yes, there is a process and there's so much you need to slowly heal. But if you indulge too much all at once with so many things, it just creates all of these other emotions that you don't actually want, which actually is then further wounding. So if you really want to heal and you really want to work on yourself and your inner growth, you need to know or dedicate a time and space for you to practice that introspection and then create presence outside of that. What that basically means is that when you're in that space, that's when you practice it all. And when you're out of that space, you're going to just have present moment awareness, enjoy your life, have gratitude, and make the most of it. Those key moments of introspection is where you're going to have the most productivity in terms of your inner growth. If you do it all the time, you won't actually experience much inner growth because you'll be so overwhelmed, and you'll also feel as if nothing is changing, or feel as if everything you do has some sort of judgment. You're not good enough. There's so many things that come up. And I learned that in my own healing journey. As I started introspection, I thought it was this most incredible tool, and I went a bit too far into it to a point that I became very judgmental of myself. And that's not what introspection is supposed to do. Introspection is supposed to give you perspective and show you what you cannot see or haven't been able to see. It's not to penalize or to just look at certain areas of your life from a space to just provide judgment, which is actually coming from your ego. So separate your ego from the space. Create a safe space for yourself. Practice introspection, but just don't do it at every single moment of every single day for your entire life. With everything that we have spoken about, I'm now going to give you 2 tips for your expansion. And number 1 is simple as pie. Go outside this summer. Go to a cafe, go to a park, go out with your family, go out with your friends. Wherever you go, as long as you're safe, go outside. Experience life. Allow your creativity to come from that inspiration. I love spending time in nature because I find that super inspirational and it makes me feel a part of something. So if that works for you, go and do that. If not, if you prefer to be someone that goes for a brunch or a solo date, go and do that. If you're someone that needs to be around people, go and do that. Go and live. Go and actually live your life. You cannot stay in one loop on the same thing all the time, because that's where we actually find ourselves being stagnant. We need to constantly grow as individuals. And the way that we do that is by getting ourselves outside and allowing ourselves to flow in that creative energy, which we can then bring back to our everyday routines. We can then inspire ourselves to create an even more expansive self-discipline routine that's going to help us flourish even more. You're only going to be able to expand to a certain extent if you practice the same things all the time. Once you've achieved one level, you need to then adjust your schedule, adjust your self-discipline to then reach the next level. We don't just want to stay at one level, we want to keep growing, we want to keep learning, we want to be that girl or that guy. Well, then that means adjustment, change, periods of supreme, amazing growth. And if we're going to experience that, we have to take that time to just get outside. Get outside and do something different. You will thank me later. Tip number 2, go out this summer and meet some new people. I know sometimes that might feel a little anxious, But if you break past that, you will see that our brains are hardwired for learning experiences. And meeting new people is a great learning experience. Not only does it allow you to trial and error certain things or practice characteristics, but you also don't have to worry about any judgments or perceptions of anyone, because it's up to you whether you would like to be friends with this person or not. And it can be as simple as just getting out of your head and giving a stranger a compliment. Always make sure that you're in a safe setting. But if you are, and if this is something that you can do, this summer, get out of your head, into the moment, and practice meeting new people. Allow yourself to be expansive in that way. We need to talk balance. Out of everything that we have spoken about today, you will have realized that much of it just has to do with living a balanced life. Life ebbs and flows, energy moves. And if we keep trying to work against it, we're never going to get anywhere. We have to be able to move with those times and be adaptive so that we can create the best of our own inner growth, the best of our productivity, and the best of life that we possibly can have. Honey, I need to remind you that we are in summer bloom right now. All that inner work that you did over the winter period, this is the time where you implement it. This is the time where you get out there and you do those things. Because like I said, nothing changes if nothing changes. We have seasons for a reason. And this season is for you to shine. It's for you to implement. It's for you to grow. And it's for you to show that beautiful energy, that beautiful work that you've been doing. This is your time. This is your summer bloom. So take full advantage of it and shine shamelessly. Your homework this week is to journal these 3 questions. Number 1, what area of your life is looking for more balance right now? Number 2, what is being asked to be implemented from all of the inner work that you have previously looked at, read, or done over the winter period? And number 3, what risks or how can you break your comfort zone this summer 2024? Because this year is going to be your inner glow up. Stay tuned for next week's meditation, as we will be doing one on creating balance in your life. If you found this video helpful, please go ahead and click that subscribe button to get new videos every week. Like and comment down below and let me know what you thought of this video. Tag me, DM me, reach out to me. Let's be besties. All of my links are in the description below. Remember that we're in this together, we've got this, and I love you.